नमस्कार, I'm Ashok Vyas और इस कार्यक्रम का नाम वाइड एंगल विद अशोक व्यास है. And today in this show we have a young man who came from India and started pursuing, if we call it American dream or the universal dream of growing, learning and looking to find new things. When you discover something, then you go for filing for a patent, and then you also look what you have discovered. Is it going to be useful for people at large? Is there any commercial angle to your discovery? So all that story, which we find quite fascinating, because we have seen such stories that has brought to us people like Bill Gates and many more. Of course, the founder of Facebook is very well known. But right now, what we see is the potential in the form of seed in young man who hails from Jodhpur, Jaipur, via Mumbai. He has landed at Cincinnati, and after completing his PhD and also co-founding one company which is Gecko Tech, quite an interesting name. What all it involves, we'll find out from him. So first of all, welcome Aniket to our studio. Namaskar.
Thank you.
And we are also joined on phone by co-founder of Gecko Tech, and his name, how would you pronounce, Aniket?
Brad Ruff.
Brad Ruff.
Yes.
So, Brad, hello. If you listen to us clearly on phone, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very nice. So I know you are somewhere on the road, and I want to open with you. Tell me what this Gecko Tech company is all about. I know some newspapers referred to some geeks having formed this company, and I believe you are from the mechanical engineering background. So tell me how excited you are about the whole concept.
Well, I'm very excited. That's right. I come from a mechanical engineering background, and I got into the low-cost 3D printers, sort of what was started by the RepRap movement, which is an open-source 3D printer that it's made from other 3D printed parts. So they call it a self-replicating printer. And that was really the start of what is now kind of called low-cost 3D printers, because and previous to that, the entry point to the industry was, $50,000, and so now you can build a machine for less than $500. And that's kind of grown over time, and now there's lots of companies that sell kits, some, 500 or less, some more. But as they've been driving down the cost of these machines, they've run into different problems. Basically features they've removed that were not essential to try to get the cost down. And one of the problems, there's a couple of problems, but basically, as a user, the one that I ran into the most was getting the plastic to stick to the print bed. And the way these machines work is they take a plastic wire and they melt it, and they draw one layer, just like you would draw with like a hot glue gun or something like that. And then it moves up and draws a second layer. And that first layer has to maintain adhesion to the surface that it's being built up on as it goes, and then due to thermal expansion, a lot of times you get peeling where it'll peel away. I had that problem, and I was trying to come up with a solution, and that's when I met Aniket, and he was actually a roommate of a friend of mine who I'd met him a couple times. And I basically was like, hey, Aniket, we should solve this problem. I know it's possible. No one else is doing anything. It's a wide open market. And then he, after a couple tries, we had something that worked. And, basically we just ran with it. And that's how we ended up here today.
Wonderful. So before I thank you and appreciate your joining us, I want to say that you identified the problem. That itself is a sign of achievement, and then both of you, or the way collectively you applied your mind and you found a solution. So before I let you go, if you can hear me clearly, how easy or difficult it is for young minds like you and Aniket to have that kind of understanding and synergy where you end up forming a company together?
Well, it's a pretty powerful kind of point that you touched on. Is that I as a young engineer basically was just never found anything that really motivated me, and I started reading about different people, other people starting companies, and sort of the Elon Musks and the celebrities, Richard Bransons of the world, and I kind of caught the bug. And this is probably the fourth or fifth idea that I've legitimately tried to form a company around, and those first couple ideas, I just had no idea what I was doing. I still sort of feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but it's basically you just have to. It's really a matter of just following your dream. I could have given up and gone to just got a job at General Electric or something like that, but instead I kept pushing it and I kept coming up with ideas and pursuing them and spending a considerable amount of my own time and money on them. And then I think what set this apart was sort of what you said, is that I found we started, it was very noticeable how we had synergy at first. Like, we both brought separate skill sets to the table, but it was within this narrow realm of materials development that really made it go so fast, because I'm not an expert necessarily in polymers, but I know enough about materials that I can contribute, and Aniket's not, expert in 3D printers, but he knows enough from working with them now to contribute to it. So it really, it really felt right from the beginning, and we got going quick, and that's been the difference.
Absolutely, that's great. That's great, and I congratulate you for standing by your convictions and not giving up to your dreams. And I think that is a take-home message from you for us here. Lots of good wishes. Thanks for joining us. And I'll continue with this thread of what you have just mentioned, and I'll pick it up with Aniket. So I appreciate your presence. And anything in particular that you would like to say to people about the significance of this spirit of entrepreneurship? And I think not only for individual growth, but down the line somewhere for the economy of the whole nation, and somewhere probably for the humanity at large. People who believe in their dreams have actually helped us in making this world a better place.
I think I like the quote that says, "The people who change the world are the ones that are crazy enough to think they can do it." Pretty much, live in the moment, don't worry about the future, and just, do what makes you happy.
Absolutely. So I'm really happy talking to you, man. And wonderful. So that was the CEO and co-founder of Gecko-Tech talking to us from Cincinnati on his way of doing something for this new company, which is growing, and it has reached many people with its ideas and its promises, and they have openly supported at Kickstarter to Gecko-Tech. So Aniket, before we get to Kickstarter, where he was talking about a problem, and I think what matters most in our lives is our ability to look for solutions. And that, when you look from the point of view of a scientist, it acquires additional significance. So now you are working on your PhD, and then parallel to that, here is this problem which relates to the field in which you have worked. So tell me, what was your first response to Brad's presentation of his problem?
Yeah, so first time when Brad told me about this problem, I was a novice. Like, I had no idea about 3D printing. So he said, I have a small 3D printer and it works okay, but there is one problem, it doesn't stick. I was like, okay, so he said, can we make something that makes it stick? So the plastic that melts It should go to the bed and stick to it. And the first thing that I had in my mind was, well, I have a bachelor's in coating technology, my PhD is in coatings, and if I cannot solve this problem, then my profession has no meaning. So this was the first idea that came to my mind. Like, I should solve this problem, if it is a problem. So that's how I started.
So then you didn't have your full-fledged laboratory, and probably you were also working from some basement or some.
We decided that we actually started working on something that I was doing during my PhD. So that thing showed some signs that probably it may work. It was not very good, but it was okay. And I was doing initially it in my lab, but later on. The entrepreneurial office of a university, they told us that if you are making something in university, you cannot sell it. So that's the point where we decided that we'll go to his basement and start making there. That's the only thing we have. So while working there, new ideas came up, and we figured out that there's something better in the market. We should try something else. So this thing completely deviated from my PhD, and it had nothing to do with my PhD. So it was all new research. And so that's where we started working.
So here is Aniket from India doing his research as PhD student. And parallel to that, when you start working on a different sort of research, where do you get the funding from?
Nowhere. We had no source of funds. We were actually lacking in funds. That was the time when my PhD was about to finish, and I was looking for jobs, and he just left Brad, he just left a job, so we both were kind of looking for money, but at the same time, this thing was very interesting. So we just put the money that we had. So most of the time I used my credit card sometimes, or he used his credit card for purchasing equipments for coating and stuff. So basically no one funded us.
Okay, so let's kind of try and look for that moment which we refer to as eureka. So I don't know whether it's that dramatic in the case of having found a coating that would help you solve the problem that was there. But is there anything like that in your mind where you really figured out, oh, I found it?
Yes. It was very exciting. The initial coating that we made, the very first coating that we made, we had to heat it. And that was not really a good idea to solve this problem. So we just trashed that project, like we are not working on it anymore. Later on, I came up with something new and we tried, and we gave it to someone, some manufacturing company in Cincinnati. So they tried, they said, it's okay, but it goes only up to 12 prints. Oh, it's not good. And it was like, well, we have made this, we can make more. So we tried. And there was one time when, since we had no equipments to carry out scientific data, like what are the properties. So all we had was to test. So there was one coating which reached the 12, and we're like, okay, it is still good. Then 15, I'm like, oh, it's working. Then 20, then 30, and I called him, Brad, it's 30. We're like, no, you're kidding me. I was like, no, it's working. And then 35, 50, I was like, okay, we got that product.
Wonderful. So when you figure out something, you feel good. And other than having your name written in newspapers and people calling you geeks, or even in Indian newspapers referring to this new discovery, that excitement is separate. But there is a pure excitement of having found something new. Yes. Share with us that journey of that mental state where you are passionate about what you want to find out.
Well, as Brett said on phone, you really need to be crazy. That was actually the state of mind. So I had no idea. When we started, we had no idea that we are going to form a company and it will be so successful in Kickstarter. The only intention we had was that we make something, we can sell it, and we can just do this and make for our monthly expenses. We can pay our rent and grocery, and that's all we had in our mind. And that's how we started.
Okay, so now, because we don't have a lot of time to enjoy these nuances of your journey, Kickstarter is comparatively a new phenomena.
Yes.
Earlier, there used to be some angel investors who would help you. Why didn't you look for that traditional path and thought of going online with this Kickstarter company?
Once we found this product, as a matter of fact, Kickstarter is very famous with 3D printing users. So if there was something else not related to 3D printing, we would definitely go to angel investors. But there are some companies who have made millions on Kickstarter. So we knew that there are users on Kickstarter. And if they are users, they are well aware of this problem. So why don't we pitch our idea there and see what they think about it? And we got their response in a day when our project was funded in one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, if I'm online and probably I have some interest in 3D printing and the kind of product that you had, then I should know what is it that you are offering. So you had some small video that was displayed on Kickstarter?
Yes, yes.
So what went in making them in terms of the concept?
Once our product was ready, and we actually used one of the Brad's relatives' studio to make our own video, and the whole video was very natural. I mean, nothing was artificial. So in video, you will see that we had a plate and we just flex it and the print comes out. So it was actually a trial thing. So I was shooting it and he was trying like, this is how we will shoot. And he did, I captured, and I was like, well, that's done. We don't need to do it again.
Why don't we watch that
Sure.
clip? Yeah. Let's watch the video about Gecko Tech related to 3D printing and what would you call, what is your discovery?
It's a build plate.
Build plate. So let's watch build plate as was shown on as is being shown on Kickstarter.
The design and functionality of desktop 3D printer is making tremendous progress. This is opening the door for new materials, lower costs, and higher accuracy. However, there is one area that has made very little progress.
How do you prevent your 3D printed parts from warping? Cat-on tape is expensive, hard to apply, and requires a heated bed. Blue tape doesn't work with ABS and doesn't last very long. Hairspray is messy to apply and can make the parts impossible to remove. ABS juice requires acetone, which is noxious and flammable.
Introducing the GeckoTech 3D printer build plate. The GeckoTech build plate is cost-effective, easy to use, extremely durable, and works with all materials and 3D printers.
The GeckoTech utilizes nanomaterials to create a very robust coating with a perfect level of adhesion, and is ready to go out of the box. This means there is no tricky application, no difficult part removal, just warp and worry-free 3D printing. It works with PLA on all 3D printers, even without a heated bed. If you have a heated bed, then it works perfect with ABS, nylon, pips, and more. It's available with a machined precision aluminum base with embedded magnets to hold the plate in place. We are huge believers in the empowerment and sustainability that desktop 3D printers provide. We believe the GeckoTech has solved the last major problem that is preventing 3D printers from going completely mainstream and having one in every home.
What sets GeckoTech apart is simple: performance. After extensive testing, we have determined the optimal level of adhesion between the part and the print bed. Just enough that it eliminates warping, but still allows easy removal of part.
The GeckoTech build plate is made with spring steel. It's extremely durable and can be flexed to aid in part removal. Up to now, we have been completely self-funded and been producing GeckoTech build plates by hand.
By pledging to our campaign, you will enable us to invest in the equipment, scale up the production, and reduce the cost.
What do you say, Kickstarters? Pledge to our campaign and let's add fuel to the fire that is the 3D printing revolution. Get your GeckoTech build plate today.
So we definitely feel like clapping on the way you concluded, and it's very interesting how you are reaching to the stage where you're making a promo for something that you want to make people understand that this is what you have figured out. And people who are working in that orbit or that space where they need these kind of products, they feel more excited. Many of us, we cannot kind of relate to that. So was there any time where you felt a little low because people were not as excited as you wanted them to be?
Well, actually, I never saw that kind of time when people were not excited. If a person know 3D printing and we told him what we discovered, he was much more excited than us. So the only time when we were disappointed was probably the 15th or 16th day of Kickstarter, when we were not getting the money that we were thinking. That's all. But in terms of excitement, no, everyone was excited.
So if it is not a secret, how much you got through Kickstarter till now?
No, it's not a secret. It's well, on the first day we got 15,000, which was a surprise to us. And by the end of campaign, we had around 59,000. Yeah.
Wonderful. So now let's go sort of to this flashback. You come from India, new country, new surrounding, new environment, and there is this creative, call that streak in you, and you captured all that experience in the form of a film, which also won you some prize or something. What was that?
Yeah, it was a short film. There was a competition in university organized by ISA, Indian Student Association. So I saw that there is some short film competition, and I had many things going on in my mind. So I was like, why don't I just make something, whatever I have in my mind. So I had no script, nothing. I just went through with whatever it was in my mind and made something on basis of my experience. So when a person as a student comes to US, how he feels, he's at the top of the world. And slowly time consumes him, and he's like, well, what am I doing? And slowly with time, he just acclimate with the society and the culture. So that's the thing that I was trying to convey in some artistic form. So that's all I did.
And you got a lot of hits for that?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of, but yeah, relatively, yeah. Yeah, it won me first prize in university, so I was very content with that.
Let's share a clip from this film. You want to say something about this clip?
Well, what I showed in the short film were different phases a person goes through. It's everywhere, but I concentrated in US. So I think the clip, I don't remember which clip it is, but I think it's one of the phase.
Wonderful. Let's watch.
So yeah,
that was a very quick clip, yeah. And you were trying to show how aloof one feels or disconnected.
Yeah, so yeah, actually this clip alone doesn't make any sense. But what the story was, I'm staring outside the window thinking about India. Then I'm going to my room, and then I see my roommate, and he's in the same gesture looking outside the window. So the kind of loneliness I was trying to show.
And so loneliness is something that also helps you in finding ways to move out of it creatively. Filmmaking is one way, and then pursuing your dreams as the co-founder of Gecko Tech has done through his new patent and this new company, which hopefully is moving towards the right direction of success and offering solutions. So before we let you go, what would you say has been the most inspiring thing for you as a researcher?
Well, this is not my original quote, but this is one from Steve Jobs that I always remember. Stay foolish, stay hungry. It's a very famous quote. So I actually accepted that. That's all I can say. So be crazy.
Wonderful. So I cannot even tell him that stay foolish. I think it is supposed to mean something else. So stay foolish and stay hungry. And of course, we love feeding, and we are fed by such a kind of unfolding of events which are satisfying, gratifying, and which are inspiring in some way, and especially the spirit with which this team of Gecko Tech has connected with us is truly inspiring, and we should also stay foolish, stay hungry, and find out where our craze is asking us to go. And this is time to go, Aniket. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
And thanks for watching Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas today. This is Ashok Vyas with lots of good wishes.